Here in the Midwest states of America, there's a huge line right by Lincoln, Omaha, all the way up to Canada, down to Louisiana. Anything west of there, it spaces out drastically. There's not very many people within 20 miles of your nearest neighbor. A nearest neighbor that's your age, you're looking pretty hard to find.
I don't know if you can always explain what love is, but you end up loving the ranch. It's always wonderful when it rains in the spring, and it's always wonderful when the snow melts.
The challenges of moving on with your ranch and knowing when that date comes when it may not be viable economically or with your family to continue ranching. All around us, everywhere, these examples of the kids not wanting to come back to the operation and they go down their own path in America.
The Schulers have been here for the last 75 years on this ranch. 2 generations preceded me who purchased this ranch in 1947. I was fortunate to grow up on the ranch and be a part of that my whole life. This ranch was originally homesteaded by a man named Guy Lang. He was from New York State. He came out here with his wife and his brother. They settled here and built a log home in the 1870s.
They chose this natural windbreak of the buttes and they allowed this area to be kind of like this little natural oasis for good grass by the creek.
David is my son. He grew up here on the ranch.
Growing up, I told my mom that, well, I can ranch on the weekdays and then on Sunday I'll just go play quarterback for the Broncos. And that was just a normal thought of mine until I saw how much work they do.
He had other opportunities coming out of school, obviously. A very capable young man.
Those 2 opportunities in college to go either to the big city and take a job somewhere else or moving home, there's no in between. My senior year in college, when the avenues and the doors started getting closer and closer and closer to me of needing to pick one and shut the other, I was probably more stressed than I should have been.
I think he had to wrestle with that decision on his own. It had to be his decision.
And that was a stressful time for my family and me and my parents.
That's a challenge to all of us that are ranchers, to figure out the destiny of our ranching operations.
When a business is generational like that, it's hard because if it fails, you've got a legacy that's failed. You know, you're affecting jobs for multiple generations.
If you're a rancher, you end up with a real connection to the ranch. And if you can't take care of it, you may decide that's a personal failure.
I had to make some serious decisions coming home or taking that opportunity. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into until that day. I just said it aloud, that you're going home. I put my cowboy boots on, put my cowboy hat on, and I was going to become a rancher.
That would have been my parents' goals all along, is for some generation of the Schulers to take that over so the ranch could continue.
I lived in a fraternity house with 75 guys for 4 years to living alone in my house immediately after college. So that was a huge, huge change for me and my mental health. My coworkers were my parents. The bickering happens, the challenges happen of working hand in hand with each other. You're always around them.
If a person can come back to the ranch right after college and work with your parents every day, that's the hardest transition.
At the end of the day, we still have lunch. At the end of the day, we still have dinners together. And that won't stop.
I'm very fortunate. With David, you know, when is he ready to take over the ranch? I mean, he's ready now. But I will always be ready to help him. I hope I could do that for a long time. As long as I can.